We have talked about a lot of different accessories on this channel, and admittedly, I'm a bit of an optimist where a lot of times I look at something and I go, oh, this is cool because of this, and this is why someone might want it. And that's great for a lot of these, but I found that it sometimes leaves you guys in a position where I talk really good things about two different products that cover kind of the same area, and you're not actually sure which one you should go for. So today we're gonna take a look at some of the best accessories in a couple different categories and see why one might be better for you over another, and ultimately, I'm gonna actually say which one I personally prefer to use. To kick things off, I wanna talk about what is probably the most requested versus that I have people ask me all the time, and that is my preferred grip for the Switch, specifically between the Satisfye grip or the Skull & Co case. Now, the particular examples I'm holding up right now are the full-size grip for the Satisfye and the Lite version for Skull & Co. They do make both sizes in each of them, and ultimately they are similar products as far as the Lite and regular version goes. There's one specific difference about the Skull & Co one I want to talk about, but first let's just go over the basics of both these products. These are both trying to address the same issue in that the regular Switch design, while portable, isn't exactly comfortable, especially if you're playing for a long period of time. And these add much more traditional controller-style grips to make it a more comfortable experience in the long run. Now, the Satisfye approach is to be just that, simply a grip. This isn't trying to be a case, this isn't trying to do any kind of additional functions. You just slot your Switch Lite or regular Switch, depending which one you have, into the body. It's got these little rubber stops to help keep it in place, but not scratch the sides of the system, so you don't have to worry about accidentally marking anything if you're taking a system in and out of it constantly. And it adds a nice little comfortable grip. Now, the thing about the Satisfye that makes it a little different from not only the Skull & Co, but a lot of different grips out there, is the decision to have an offset grip on the right side. The reason for this is because if you're playing any kind of games that rely on the sticks for the Nintendo Switch, well, this one's angled a little bit better to make your thumb more comfortable when you're reaching for that lower stick on the right-hand side, which is one of the chief complaints about the Switch design as far as ergonomics goes, is that that lower hand right stick just isn't super comfortable, and this makes that a lot more manageable. Now, on the other hand, with the Skull & Co grip, it does not have that offset design, but is instead just a symmetrical setup. One thing that is neat about them, though, is that you do have the ability to swap between 2 or 3 different grip sizes. So depending on which one is going to be more comfortable for your particular hand size, you have that choice instead of the one-size-fits-all approach that Satisfye uses. Also, instead of just being simply a grip, this is a full case that covers the body of the Switch, giving it a little more protection overall. This does also cause a little bit extra padding on some buttons like the back triggers and the front shoulders. It does honestly detract a little bit, but it's not that much of a distraction. One thing about Skull & Co I do want to bring attention to as far as differences between the regular full-size Switch and the Switch Lite version is that I do really love the fact that the Switch Lite version is a clear case because it allows you to show off whatever particular design Switch Lite you picked up, and they come with different grip options to match them. So for instance, in this turquoise setup, it all comes together really nicely, and I love that look. So when it gets down to it, which of these two do I actually recommend? Now, to be clear, again, these are both great products. I honestly think neither of them is necessarily a wrong decision. As far as specific strengths go, I think the Skull & Co is a better looking grip case, especially in the case of the Lite, because again, that whole color matching concept. But if we're talking about pure ergonomics, I love the Satisfye grip. Yes, the Skull & Co does come with a couple different sizes, so you can try to find the one that's just right for you, but at the end of the day, the simple, straightforward design of the Satisfye and that offset design on the right-hand side just makes it a much more comfortable option. If you are looking for a grip purely for the idea of having the most comfortable option out there, Satisfye is the way to go, and that is the one that I do use when I'm using a grip. Again, these are both great, and I don't think there's a wrong choice here, but if I have to choose one of them, Satisfye is the winner. Next, let's talk the best Switch controller to grab. Now, there are a lot of different options out there, and part of this debate comes down to how much you're willing to spend, whether or not you want to get just a cheap wired controller or you want to get something that's wireless. For the sake of this video, though, we are going to talk about the best wireless controller option out there, and the main two I want to talk about are, of course, the official Switch Pro controller and 8BitDo's Sn30 Pro Plus. Now, the benefits for the official Pro controller are pretty obvious. Since this is the one first-party option out there, it's got a lot of functionality that you're not necessarily guaranteed to have with other controllers, including motion controls, the ability to scan Amiibo on an NFC reader underneath the stick, and it has HD rumble. I also will say I love the grip design of the Switch Pro controller. Nintendo clearly took a lot of cues from what Microsoft was doing with the Xbox One controller, and that's a good thing because that's honestly my favorite controller as far as just standard OEM ones go. So this was a really good move, I think. At the end of the day, I think it's just a very good, straightforward controller. Now the Sn30 Pro Plus, on the other hand, is something that is a little more specialized. Now if you're not familiar with the Sn30 line at all, or even what 8BitDo does, they make third-party controllers that are not officially licensed actually for the Switch, but are really good ones. Normally they're heavily retro-inspired, and they've kind of built up from that. In the case of the Sn30 Pro Plus, you can tell that it's meant to be kind of like an SNES controller, but then they embraced new controller styles by adding actual full grips. It's got all the full shoulder buttons. It is a fully functional modern controller. Now the obvious things that separate this from the Pro controller are of course the grip design's different. It's a little more similar to a PS4 controller rather than Xbox One, and then includes the fact that you have symmetrical sticks on the inside rather than the offset design on the regular Switch controller. Personally, I do like the offset design more, but I know there's a lot of people that like this choice instead. One of the biggest things though that's really nice about the design of 8BitDo controllers in general, not just this one specifically, is they have some of the best D-pads on the market. If you love using a D-pad, especially for more retro style games, the 8BitDo one is honestly the best one out there. Now, while these physical changes are obvious, what's really interesting with the Sn30 Pro Plus is on the inside and the feature differences from the Pro controller. You are losing some things like the NFC reader and HD rumble, though you do have adjustable rumble, which is worth mentioning. But the big thing is the fact that this does have a really cool Pro controller feature in that you can reassign the buttons. Using an app on PC, you can fully remap this entire controller, so if a game doesn't give you remapping options and there's a better way you would like to play certain games, this is going to give you that choice. Now, before I give my ruling on which of these two controllers I prefer, there's one more controller I want to touch on really quickly because a lot of people asked for my thoughts on this one compared to the Switch Pro controller, and that's PowerA's wireless controller. Now, compared to the official Nintendo one and 8BitDo's Sn30 Pro Plus, the PowerA ones are aimed a little more at being the affordable range. These are the cheapest of the three wireless controllers we're talking about right now, though not by a crazy margin. The thing that's really worth mentioning about these as far as a strength they have that the other two controllers don't have is the addition of back buttons on the grips. I really like having those, and the fact that neither of the other two ones have it is a bit of a loss. But as far as everything else goes in terms of additional features, the comfort of the grip, I just feel like the other two really win out. I think if you're just looking to save money, this is still a really solid option, but as far as pure performance goes, the other two are better. Though one thing I do like about them is they also come in a lot of different really cool looking designs, whereas your options are a little more limited with the other two. Anyways, going back to the main two that we're actually talking about, again, like I was saying with the grips, these are both great options. I don't think there's a wrong choice necessarily here, but when push comes to shove and I have to pick one that I actually use a lot more and I think should be the first purchase someone goes for, I actually like the Switch Pro controller. The reason for this is that while I do like some of the features of the Sn30 Pro Plus, like the remappability and the D-pad, ultimately I find that those are more specialized tasks for specific games, whereas the official Switch Pro controller is just a much better one-size-fits-all approach. I love the comfort of the grip design. It has all the features you need to make sure that you can do stuff in all the games you're playing, and ultimately, while remappability is nice, any game where that really heavily matters oftentimes does offer that as a setting option. If you're willing to buy multiple controllers, I think it is actually a pretty good idea to pick these up for different specialized purposes. But if you're only going to buy one controller or you're looking for the first one to grab, I think the official Switch Pro controller is the way to go. This next comparison is a little more different because these two products aren't actually the exact same kind of thing, but they both look to address the same issue on the Switch, which is the lack of wireless audio support. And the two main ones I want to talk about are, of course, the Genki Bluetooth adapter and the SteelSeries Arctis 1 wireless. Yeah, these definitely don't look like the same thing. So, the Genki Bluetooth adapter, if you're unaware of what that is, it's just a little adapter that you plug into the bottom of your Switch. It'll work with the regular one or Switch Lite, and it gives you the ability to connect to your favorite pair of Bluetooth headsets. Now, the thing is, different headsets use different codecs, and that has a major impact on your actual experience of playing the game, because certain headsets are going to give you a lot more noticeable lag time than others. If you go out of your way to buy a pair of super low latency headphones, or you happen to already own some, those will pair great with this adapter right here to give you an experience that's honestly almost the exact same as hearing the audio come out of the speakers. It is a very, very low amount of latency that is pretty much imperceptible to most people. However, personally, I like to use this with something that's a little less effective, and that's with Apple AirPods. Now, those aren't going to give you the same amount of low latency that some other headphones can, but it's still a usable length. I wouldn't necessarily want to do that for anything competitive, but when I'm just out and on the go, when I want a way to have wireless headphones in, that's just a really easy headset for me to carry around and pair with this receiver. Now, whereas the Genki is an adaptable option where you can use the headset of your choice, the Arctis One, on the other hand, is just designed to be a really effective wireless headset for the Switch, using a similar solution where it comes with a little wireless adapter you plug into the USB-C slot. But instead of relying on Bluetooth audio, it's a dedicated 2.4 GHz signal. While the Genki certainly gives you lots of options, this gives you a guaranteed bundled package that's going to give you both that low latency and good audio quality. Now, if you're looking to save as much money as possible and you already own some Bluetooth headphones, the Genki is a really appealing option. But if you just want something where you know it's going to work and you don't want to have to run the risk of trying different headsets or seeing how each one responds differently, this is something that's just as a combined package works great. Now again, this particular Versus is a little different from the others because these aren't exactly the same product, and a lot of it does come down to your personal circumstance, like whether or not you already own a pair of Bluetooth headphones that you would like to use with the Genki. That being said, in my personal experience, I use the Genki a lot more because, again, I like using it with AirPods a lot. Now, part of this is the fact that I do like playing a lot more kind of single player, more casual kind of stuff when I'm out on the go playing in handheld mode, so this just makes a lot more sense for that. If I was playing something more competitive a lot more often in handheld mode, then the SteelSeries would actually be, I think, the better way to go. Because again, you have a guaranteed package that's gonna give you both good audio quality and that better latency. Not to mention the fact that at $100, while still expensive, is more than likely cheaper than paying for both the Genki and a separate headset if you don't already own an option that's convenient. When I was first drafting this video, one idea that didn't occur to me that someone brought up on Twitter that I actually thought was a really cool thing is instead of just focusing on useful accessories like a controller or a headset, but also take a look at the ways that people like to individualize their systems. For instance, two really easy ways you can do it at home are either with a skin or a shell exchange. Obviously, the skill sets involved in these are a little bit different, and especially in the case of the shell exchange, stuff can get a little bit more dangerous and risky, but not even focusing on that, just from a visual aspect, I think there are some interesting things to compare here. For instance, with this skin approach, there's a lot of textures and looks that you can't always get with plastic shell exchanges, like this very reflective blue here, or the carbon fiber on the Joy-Cons, which looks really nice. And especially in the case of the regular Nintendo Switch, it is a lot easier to get a full wraparound color design as opposed to just doing the back like a lot of shell exchanges offer. The Switch Lite, on the other hand, there are full body shell exchanges you can do, like this one right here, which I think looks amazing. It's also worth noting that for the regular size Switch, it is a lot easier to do a shell exchange for just the Joy-Cons alone, which is normally enough customization for a lot of people. The really cool thing about shell exchanges is that while they do take a lot more work, there's no risk of anything peeling off over time unless you actually shatter the case itself. And there's the fact that you can achieve things that you absolutely cannot do with a skin, like this atomic purple transparent design. Now for this situation, I don't think there's necessarily an objective winner, because a lot of it comes down to what look you're looking for and how much effort you're willing to put into doing either a skin or shell exchange. Me personally, I do love doing shell exchanges. Part of that comes from the fact that I just love the atomic purple design look, and there is no way you can do that with this skin. You can't have a skin that changes the plastic of the Switch itself to being clear. So that's why this is a big winner for me. But if you're interested in something like just doing a white Switch or doing a carbon fiber design, that's something that's a lot more easily accomplished with a skin and involves a lot less risk. Which, by the way, if you're wondering about what kind of risks are involved with a shell exchange like this, I just recently did this atomic purple one. I'll have the video linked down below, so go check that out if you want to see some of the stuff involved in this, like ripping out the screen. So those are all the winners. If you're interested in grabbing any of this stuff, whether it's the ones I personally recommended or not, I'll have them all linked down below in the description. One category I did end up leaving out for this video is cases, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are basically approximately 1 billion companies out there that make Switch cases. If you guys are interested in a more dedicated video looking at all the options out there and maybe even just tournament style getting down to which one I think is the best, let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, Stevie.